In this video, we're going to be talking about how to join the Coast Guard, so stay tuned. Hey, welcome back, Military Journeyman. If you're new to this channel, my name is Julian Miata. I'm an active duty military member and real estate agent in the DMV. My goal through this channel is to help you along your military journey by giving you the best military tips and money-saving hacks. So subscribe so you can keep up to date. Congratulations, you passed the first big hurdle in joining the Coast Guard, which is convincing yourself that we're a real service. No, but seriously, when you join the Coast Guard, you have to be prepared that everybody that you meet is going to be convinced that you're not a real service, because we fall under the DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, and not the DOD, but we are a military branch, we are a real service. Just got to get that out of the way. It really helps me feel better. The second biggest hurdle will be getting in touch with your recruiter, because I don't know what it is about the Coast Guard, but the recruiters just, they're on Coast Guard time. No, but in all seriousness, actually getting in touch with your recruiter can be challenging. I myself had issues getting in contact with my recruiter when I first joined. I know a lot of people always have issues with, like, recruiters not calling them back. So we're going to be talking about getting in touch with your recruiter and some other things that I would do if I was to join the Coast Guard again. So step one would be call your local recruiter. Now, your local recruiter might not be anywhere near you. For me, when I was in Florida, I had to drive an hour up to Tampa to be able to see my local recruiter. And so there wasn't like an army base. Like the army bases, they're like right around they're like probably right next to your house. Your next door neighbor is probably an army recruiter. That's not like the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard has very few offices and they're very scattered. So for you to be able to get to your Coast Guard recruiter will maybe take a little while, but just give them a call and let them know, like, hey, I'd like to speak. And if you can't reach them, because a lot of times someone's not answering the phone, or they might be at lunch, or they might have a Coast Guard day, or whatever the reason might be that you might not be able to get in contact with them, I would personally not leave a message. I would personally just call them back the next day. If they don't call back the next day, leave a message and say, hey, I've tried reaching out, I've tried calling, I'm leaving a message if you could get back to me. Second thing that I would do is that I would also go online. You can do the Speak with the Recruiter now. If you go to gocoastguard.com, you can speak with someone and fill out your information. It basically submits like an application, and then your local recruiter will get that application and reach out to you and let you know that that you are communicating. So when I spoke with my recruiter, I actually did both. I called them and I did it online, and they actually reached out to me first, based off of my form that I filled out on the Go Coast Guard website before they returned my phone call, which is kind of strange, but that's apparently they're quicker at their ticket queue or whatever for the people that are interested. So before you go and waste the recruiter's time on your own, just know that there are a few requirements that you have to have. You have to be at least 17 years old with parental consent, up to 31 years old. Now you can, the 31 age, it is kind of flexible because you can get waivers to be able to go to school. So like if there's a critical job like culinary specialist or electronics technician, you can actually get a waiver sometimes to be able to allow you to join if you're around that 31, 32 age, but that's where you have to call your recruiter. Second thing is that you need a high school diploma. They do accept people with GEDs, but the Coast Guard is competitive, so in order to be competitive, you might want to be able to have that high school diploma. But again, call your recruiter, and that's why you have to call them and let them know your situation. Especially if you have some type of medical thing that's undocumented or documented, you want to talk with them because there might be things that might come up that would prevent you from joining. Also, if you have any debt, so you can have a certain amount of debt that you're allowed up to, but again, speak with your recruiter so that you can know exactly what's the allowable debt. If it's student loan debt, if you can have that versus maybe credit card debt, there is a percentage that you have to have. Second thing is do your research. So don't just walk into the recruiter's office like, hey, I'm interested in joining the Coast Guard. Where do I sign the papers so you can send me? We're not the Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force. We have a very limited amount of places that are available in the Coast Guard, and it's actually really challenging to join. So you want to do your research and know that if the Coast Guard's right for you, and if it's something that is in line with what you want to do. So when doing your research, you want to find out what type of rating that you would want to be. So that's the cool thing about the Coast Guard, is that you could be like a cool IT like me. You could be a CS and be a cook. You could be an AST like the rescue swimmers. There's a lot of different jobs, and they are really cool and really interesting. And that's what made me want to join the Coast Guard, was because of how interesting it is. When you join like a branch like the Navy, you might be doing IT, but you might be doing a specific type of thing like telephone systems as an IT versus a network IT. Me being in IT, I get to do the telephones, I can do the network, I can do a lot of different things because there's not a whole lot of people that are in the Coast Guard. So you have to kind of do a lot more, and there's a lot more responsibility for whatever job that you pick. So know that it's not like you choose to do one job, maybe like boatswain's mate, BM, and that's all you're going to be doing is driving boats. No, there's a lot that BMs do, and if you want to know more about like what the different rates and stuff do, then you can check out the videos. I've done a lot of videos interviewing different rates, and you can just catch up on what the jobs actually do. But again, call your recruiter because they have a lot of information. That's what their job is, to be able to educate you on this stuff. You want to find out what your long-term goals and your short-term goals are. Are you planning on just joining the Coast Guard and getting out? You want to have a plan for that. How are you going to maximize your time while in the service? If it's just 4 years, how can you take advantage of all the opportunities and the benefits that are available to you? If you have a long-term goal, then you want to start planning, like what rate are you going to go? Are you going to try to get on a boat initially? Are you going to try to get to a land unit? Which type of rating do you want? Do you want to be like an IT, a CS, whatever it is? And what would you plan on your future career being? Because how you enter the Coast Guard and what jobs you pick can really make a difference on how you will end up in the future. Whether you want to be a warrant officer or maybe you want to go to the academy, a lot of different options. So you want to be aware of these things before you join, so that way when you do join, you have a plan of action of what you can do. If you are planning on going officer versus enlisted, there's a lot of programs. There's things like Sea Spy. You can do the flight initiative, so you can actually become a pilot. There's a lot of cool programs. Even for enlisted people, you can go to college, things like ASET, PPEP. There's programs that you can do. Like, I actually had a friend that I went to boot camp with, and he actually was enlisted, and then he went to the academy. So a lot of different options for you guys, and you should be able to know and have questions lined up so that when you do speak with your recruiter, that he can help educate you and get you that information. You have to be okay with getting underway. So joining the Coast Guard, we are a sea service, so when you do join, be prepared for getting underway. Some people say, oh, I don't want to get underway. Just be prepared for that, because there's very few jobs in the Coast Guard where you do not get underway. But if that is something like you just don't want to get underway, then again, doing your research, finding out which rates don't get underway, and then you can plan accordingly. Also want to look at the other services and what they have to offer, because the Coast Guard's not the end all be all. There are other services like the Chair Force that have some really cool positions, like squat position, recline position, the laying on your back position. So if you want a comfortable position, joining the Chair Force is probably a good bet. So after you know that you're eligible to join the Coast Guard, you've done your research, you have your list of questions and everything that you have, then you want to set up an interview with your recruiter to be able to hash out whatever these questions are and get the process started. So during that process, you're going to want to study for your ASVAB if you haven't already taken it or passed it, or you want a better score. You definitely want to study for that, because the Coast Guard has very competitive ASVAB scores for their jobs. So if you want to do something other than BM, then you're probably going to want to have a high ASVAB score. You're also going to need to go through MEPS, which is just your medical processing. It's not going to be as easy as like when you're joining the Army. You're going to have a bunch of other people that are joining the Army with you. When you're in the Coast Guard, it is a very, very small community. So that's why I created a Discord channel for you guys to be able to communicate with other people that are interested in joining the Coast Guard. I'm going to be on there doing live Q&As, answering questions about what the Coast Guard is, like what my job is. Some really cool stuff. Check it out in the description box. Go on over to Patreon. On my Patreon page, we have different tiers so that you can join the Discord channel and get plugged in with the community. Whether you're planning on joining the Coast Guard in a little while and you want to get prepared, or you're ready to go to boot camp and you want to be able to connect with other people that are going to be in your boot camp company before you go, check out the Patreon page where you can get plugged in and join the Discord channel, because we have a lot of valuable information on there. Question of the day: when do you plan on joining the Coast Guard? Leave it in the comments section down below. If you like this video and you're interested in joining the Coast Guard, check out my Bootcamp Essential playlist right here, or keep watching right here. Until next time, guys, peace out.